Hey everyone, it's me, Thorsten, also from Malotropia, and yeah, I thought I'd talk a little bit about ODF and package encryption. So, who does not know ODF, the Open Document Format? We talk later. So yes, encryption. Why is that a thing? Well, it's like keeping data addressed encrypted, and the story behind that is that it actually predates the actual standardization. ODF itself is almost 20 years old, and this encryption thing that was added not before OpenOffice, but in the first year or in the second year in 2001. That was called StarOffice XML, the format back in the day. So got added there pretty much in an ad hoc fashion, which is why we have a number of problems, or we had a number of problems after that. So I think it's a wonderful story of implementing something on an engineering level that sounded like or that looked like a good idea when it was done, but 20 years later it doesn't really hold up anymore. So the design decisions back in the day were that I don't know if you know the ODF file format is essentially a zip archive with a number of with a directory structure and a number of files in there, and there's some metadata manifest XML file that describes all of those files. So that sounded like a great idea to just if you need to encrypt something, well, obviously you can't encrypt everything because you still need some metadata, like what kind of document is that, and possibly other things, and also perhaps some information about the actual encryption. So back in the day, the design decision was, let's just encrypt the important bits and leave the other bits unencrypted. So there was this encrypt every package entry, so every file inside the package separately. And that then leads to a number of knock-on effects, which were in hindsight not so great. So that runs the key definition function, so the password-based key definition function for all the files, because that PBKDF that needs a seed, and the seed needs to be different. If it's not, you have this kind of known plain text attack. So you needed to seed the actual encryption key for every file. So you needed the entropy, and you needed to generate the key. And then for every encrypted file, you needed an initialization vector for the AES encryption, which was another entropy that you needed for that. So the end result of that, and of course you get a lot of known plain text, because you have a lot of XML files or a lot of images there, which all start with the same, like the initial, whatever, 100 bytes of that are all the same. And yes, lots of entropy. So you drain, if you want to use real entropy, like stuff that is coming from the hardware, and you have hundreds of files inside, like, for example, an Impress document with 100 slides, all of them with a nice picture in there, so that easily you get like 100 or 200 files there. And on every save, like imagine you have autosave enabled, and on every save, you just drain the entropy. So, and all of that was not clear when they start. So of course, the engineer implementing that, it's like, oh, works nice, like for this small sample file there. Yes, and to add insult to injury, it was also quite hard to compress, because the compression was actually then happening after the encryption. Encryption obviously makes a file that is almost pure white noise, so it's actually it's supposed to be hard to compress. So yeah, so that was pretty unhealthy in the end. So there was a very famous bug in I think from 2016 or 17, when this PBKDF, there was some sort of, that's just, you put in your password, and then you have some algorithm that iterates on that password and actually generates a very long key that for symmetric encryption. And there was some recommendation that because, well, if the iteration number is low, you can just brute force it. So you just try that. So you have this like, I don't know, dictionary attack, and then you just iterate. And then if the iteration count is low, it's quite easy to do that. So the recommendation over the years with the computing hardware getting cheaper and GPUs getting faster was to bump that to from 1024, which was the old setup, to about 100,000. And there's a very famous bug in Bugzilla with this. Oh, this is completely unusable now. So when I save this document, it now takes 2 minutes. It is, and so the problem was then that something that was supposed to be great, which is having encryption, was so unusable that people were actively avoiding that. Or you would have to artificially weaken the setup, so like lower this iteration count again to make that actually usable. So that was like between a rock and a hard place. And I'm quite grateful that for the BSI for funding this improvement after like something like 8 years trying to find someone there. So what we're doing now is we store so we do just this fundamental law of software engineering. So just have another indirection. So what we're doing is we take the normal ODF package format, and we just inside this package format, we put one encrypted file, which is another ODF package, but just encrypted one. And then we can use the metadata information and most of the ODF standard that is there. We run this password-based key definition function just once per save. So that's like 2 orders of magnitude savings in computing. We have a lot less known plaintext because, well, it's all just one package. There's a bit of known plaintext at the start of it because there's some metadata, but it's all. And we're much, much more frugal with entropy. So the problem with entropy is that if you run out of entropy and then your operating system is providing you with pseudo-random numbers, that becomes a lot weaker. And you don't know when that happens. But when it happens, it's quite easy to attack. So you also want to avoid that. And now it compresses like plain ODF. So first you have ODF, you save that, normal compression, and then you encrypt that. So that's all good. And we have it standardized. So it's we have it implemented as experimental in 24.2, and it's going to be the desktop LibreOffice in 24.8. So it's going to end up in online probably next year, or maybe backward. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, sorry, that's not, that slide's going to be online, I hope. So that's standardized. It's going to be an ODF 1.5 because we missed the window for 1.4. So that's always a year, like a lead time for that. And that's the kicker. It's much more performant. So it's now back to the old speed. It's probably even faster than before. It's faster than it ever was because we don't need this reiteration and getting the entropy and regenerating the keys. It's just one key setup, one encryption, and then we're done. It's more tamper resistant. While we're at it, we would just redesign that from the ground up, like 25 years later. So crypto has advanced. So we're using the AES GCM, which is not just encrypted, but it's also authenticated. So that means no one can tamper with that and kind of slide in some buffer overflow, some backdoor. So you know if anybody tampered with that, the moment the tampered byte arrives. So then you can just stop processing that. And it's just for free. So just using a different algorithm that was not used before. We're hiding the metadata. So there's no clear text file names because there was another information leak because the file names were not encrypted because the entire package was not encrypted, just the individual entries. And much higher resistance to brute forcing, in particular with this Argon. So if you're using full disk encryption, you usually get that these days on Linux. And Argon is something that is not just using CPU, but also a lot of RAM, which really helps against people with a GPU. Because GPU has lots of computing power, but not so much RAM, at least in comparison. So yeah, overall, I think a great improvement, much safer, much more usable. And yeah, thanks for your attention.